Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.wordpress.com. Thank you very much for joining me again today for another card making tutorial, and we are going to be using the Elegantly Said bundle of products to make our projects today. So you'll know that hopefully that there was a new annual catalogue launched yesterday. So this week it's very much a focus on stuff that's new that demos were able to get during pre-order. So that's one of the great benefits of being a demonstrator. You do get to early access to products. So Elegantly Said then is a cling mount stamp set, really beautiful, a little bloom image, some lovely sentiment, a border and this lovely swirl. So already seen some fantastic things done with the stamp set. It is a bundle with this elegant punch, which at first glance looks a little peculiar, but having used it, it's very different, but very nice anyway. So that's that. There is some trim in there, the Simply Elegant trim, and you get both spools, gold and silver. So that's it's a sort of stiffer cord, if you like. It's not like linen thread or anything like that. It's more of a fine cord with just a bit of a texture to it. So you get both of those, gold and silver. Okay, but the star of this bundle has got to be the designer series paper. So let me just transport this across here so that I can get you the packet of paper. This has got all three foils. It's gold, silver and copper foiling in this designer series paper. So get 12 sheets, so two sheets of each design, I beg your pardon, and they are just phenomenal, double-sided sheets. So we're using this piece on our examples today, so I'll show you that. Then we've got a mixture of very vanilla and white as the base for this. We've also got basic grey and we've got black. Okay, so this is just a stunning set of papers. There's stuff in there that could pass for the guys as well. So this one, the one with the diamonds on, this has all three foils on. So it's silver, gold and copper on that one. Here's another guy paper. We could get something out for the guys on that one. This one is just phenomenal. So that obviously matches the stamp set beautifully. Again, it's got all three of the foils featured, and then we're using this one in the project today. So absolutely superb bundle. Do check that out in the catalogue. If you don't have a catalogue and you live in the UK, let me know. I do have some spare ones that I can send out. I've done two sample cards here. So these use the same piece of designer series paper. Okay, so this side, and then on the other side is the silver. So we've used both sides of that. So I cut off a panel and used it to make two cards. Oops, I've just knocked over all kinds of stuff on my desk. And that was my black ink pad, so I'll just retrieve that in a moment. And we're going to use this piece of paper for the project today. So we're going to replicate those using this one. So this has the very vanilla base on it with the basic grey, and then we've got the white and gold on the other side. So we've already cut the pieces. Let me just retrieve my black ink pad so that we can get started. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie. So already cut some bits and pieces. So we're just doing some very simple DSP work, and then using the tag as our sort of topper piece, if you like. So like I say, I've already cut the strip of designer series paper there into the 2 layers, okay, and I have chosen to use something complementary to layer it, okay. So with the Very Vanilla in the background, I've chosen a Very Vanilla card base, and I've opted for a black layer just to help that to pop from the card base, and I'll be using the vanilla for the tag. On this one, because we've got the white base, it's a white card base that I've chosen, and again I'm going to make that pop from that background with some black. Black and gold are really phenomenal together anyway, so that's what we're doing. And I'm going to pull in the black again for the tag and do some heat embossing. So you'll have probably, you may or may not have noticed actually that this one we had the vanilla tag, and I've brought in the grey and the black from the designer series paper, okay. And then this one I actually heat embossed. Okay, so we're going to do a sort of similar thing. We're going to stamp one and heat emboss the other. So let's move the heat embossing one for a moment and work on this one. But first I've just cut a couple of extra strips of cardstock just to show you the punch basically. So a couple of things with this punch in that we can actually make double-ended tags with either end of this punch. So I did a quick measure of that, and it's 1 3/4 inches. So if you cut your strips just shy of 1 3/4 inches, they will go into your punch, no problem of course. But to do these techniques, you want to sort of feed your paper in through the aperture on your punch. Now, I don't know whether you can see this, yeah, so that gap there is where the mechanism is going to come and cut the cardstock. And if you are careful, you can actually get the cardstock to go through that slot from this side rather than going through the slot at the front. So we can actually use that to cut the end of our cardstock like this, okay, and put that away, okay. And then we can do the same with the other end. So if I push the other end in, obviously this is very long, so you would cut this to an appropriate length. So you just want to get it lined up. It will go in, it's just fine. It's just a case of just wiggling it into there. So because this is going towards the mechanism, there's only so far you can get it. That's as far as that one will go without getting into the thing. So you'd have to cut that down to get a shorter tag. But you can do a double-ended round end like that. And then likewise we can do the same at the other end. So with it being a funny shape, it is a little bit more tricky to get the cardstock in. So you have to get it under these bits and the shoulders there, but you can do it, and there it is, it goes all the way through. So I can line that up over here, oops, and punch that end, and then equally I can do the same on this one. So again, just manipulate that so that it goes under all those little parts. You may find that the corners just catch a little bit as you push that in, but I can now make that as short or as long as I want because it's not interfered with by the mechanism, and I can cut that to make a double-ended fancy tag like that, which also means of course that the ribbon or trim that we decide to use can actually go around both ends of that tag. Okay, so I could do one at both ends, creates a nice feature on the front of a card like so. Okay, so more versatile than you might think with that punch to get a tag like this. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that that was an option. Okay, just going to move that out of the way. So our plain card without the embossing, we're just going to get our layers all stuck together. So I'm going to put our designer series paper onto the layer as I described, like so, and we can get that onto our card base. Ready to go. Like so. Okay, so that's all nicely in place. I'm going to use the vanilla for the tag. So I'm going to just punch my rounded end first, and then I can, by leaving it open like that, it means that I can guarantee that the tag's going to be the right size. So I've already got the for you and the flower here. So I think what we'll do is we'll do what we did with the other one, and we'll use black ink for the sentiment to bring it out the layer, and we'll do the floral image in the basic grey just to keep everything coordinated. Now of course if you wanted to bring in a real contrasting colour, I mean, you could go balmy, you could just go bring in magenta madness or something, or something like that, and bring in a pop of colour from somewhere. So, you know, have a little experiment with what you want to achieve. So this is the For You stamp, which I already know is mounted straight on the block. And if I'd have lined it up straight, it would have been straight, but it's close enough for the purposes of this demonstration. So that's our black ink, and then I'm going to bring in, like I say, the basic grey that coordinates with the whole suite, really. We'll get that bloom well inked to make sure it's well covered. And we'll just drop that in above the sentiment just there, just give that some good firm pressure. I'm just giving that a good wipe off on a Stampin' Chamois so that it's ready to use for the other card, because we don't want the ink carrying over. And then we can do our topper part. Like I said, we can just feed this through now, like so. And now I've got the room now to judge how long I want this tag to be. So it sort of eliminates the guesswork when you do it like this. It is a little bit more fiddly, but it's probably worth it when you want to make sure that you've got everything spaced the way you want it. So there we go. Snaps shut. Do make sure you haven't got your hand between there, it hurts. I do know that. Okay, and then we want to obviously add that to our card base. So we need to select some ribbon, and now that I had that grey granite, actually it isn't basic grey, but it's grey granite, and that might be nice on there as a nice accompaniment. So let's use that. We could use the black glitter ribbon as well, actually. Shall I cut some of that as well? Let's have a little look at how that looks. There we are. So this is grey granite shimmer ribbon, I think they call it actually. And we've got, in fact I think I'm already liking the black because I think it pops more. Yeah. And this is the black glitter ribbon which is carried over, which is super phenomenal. So I'm just going to loop that round there. I did find that sort of wrapping it round this portion just gives it a little bit of extra security. And for whatever reason, me being me, I find that my bows work out better if I tie them upside down. So I'm going to make a loop and then wrap this end round and then push it back through the loop it creates. With my finger. Very difficult for you to see exactly what I mean there. Just push that loop through and you should end up with a nice sitting bow because the ribbon has been fed through flat instead of getting twisted. So just holding that knot in place a little bit. I'm going to loosen it more than I want because I'm going to tighten it and fuss with it. So there we go. Like so. There we go. That's gotten to where I want reasonably quickly. Glitter does tend to shed a little bit all over the place. We're going to add that with dimensionals, of course. I think we'll put 2 at the bottom, 1 at the top, just to give it some stability. And add that in. Oops. And I've been putting them kind of off centre and low a bit, just for a bit of fun rather than just I say fun, I mean, you know, just to be different really, rather than just bang in the middle. We just need to trim those ribbon ends. So that's card number 1. Okay, the vanilla black and the grey there. Okay, then we'll bring in card number 2. So again, we can do our layers straight off, no bother, just like we did with the other one. And get those done, and then this can go onto the card base. Oops, got a bit of a rough edge on that, but we can sort that out after. Oops. So there we are, our layer on there. Just give that a rub, make sure it's down and straight. Okay, so with this tag then, we still want to round the end because we still want to know where the bottom's going to be, if you know what I mean. But we're going to be doing heat embossing, so we're going to use our gold heat emboss powder to do our sentiment. So I'm just going to move that to one side for a moment. Still got the same stamps that I've been just clean that again, just make sure the edges are all clean. But this time, because we're heat embossing, we need to use our clear sticky ink, which is Versamark ink. Okay, so just the same as any other ink pad, you just want to do light tapping over the ink. You'll be able to see it glistening even though it's clear, and we'll get that into position, something like there. Same with our floral image, we can do that. And if you're stamping in real time, you'll be able to just about see your ink in your light, so you'll know where to put this. Nice firm pressure again. The Versamark ink is slower drying than regular ink, so you do have a couple of minutes just to get that stamped down. And then I've got this handy dandy little tray that I use to catch my powder. Had this a long time. Just kept hold of it. Okay, and you tap your powder on like so. Tap off any excess, so it looks really dull right now, but when you heat it, it melts and gives a really nice shiny look. Okay, just tapping that away. So that's the advantage of using that tray. It just helps me keep things tidy, because that embossing powder will go everywhere. Now the heat tool is loud, so what I'm going to do is get that running, and then I'll be muting the video when I do my editing, so you won't be hearing that. But I'll do it in front of you so that you can see the process. So I'm going to heat up the gun. I'm going to heat the reverse of the card and then take it to the front, and you should see that beautiful embossing process take place. Okay, so I'm just going to mute that now, and I'll be back with you in a second. So there we have our beautiful heat embossed topper there. Okay, so now we can trim the top like we did with the other one. Just feed that through. The heat embossing does warp your cardstock a bit, just because it's taking out all the moisture from that cardstock. So it just tries to bend slightly. Heating it on the back first does help reduce that a little bit, but also gives you a really nice heat emboss result. If you overheat embossing powder, it'll sort of absorb back into the cardstock and it won't look as shiny. Okay, so we need to choose some ribbon to put over this one, and I'm thinking the white seam binding would be good. I can't remember if I've got any open. Just reaching across to my ribbon basket over here. Nope. That's fine. This is the white crinkled seam binding ribbon. So I'm just going to get that open, she says. To get your scissors underneath one of the ends. Typically, because you're watching, I'm having a trouble doing that. Don't usually have that trouble with my ribbon. How bizarre. Usually that comes away far easier than that. Don't know why that was being particularly stubborn, to be honest with you. Right, let's cut a length of that off. And we'll do exactly as we did with our other one. I say I did find that wrapping it round just helped just keep it sort of secure for a bit while we do the tie-in. Exactly as we did before. Take it round, push it through, and hopefully you get an alright bow without too much bother. You just have to adjust the bow loops to suit your project. All very personal preference as to how flouncy you want bows. Bring in our dimensionals again. Trim our tails and we're done. So again, we'll offset this about somewhere up here. You can make a neater job of that if you, because you will have more time. Lop off some ends, and there we are. I hope you've liked that. So those are the two we've made together on the that's sticking up a bit, so I might stick another dimension behind there. There we are. That's it. Two of those cards. I hope you've enjoyed that. All the links will be in the description for the products we've used today. And I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.